Hello and welcome to week 3 of my guide to the best 100 artists of all time. Tantalising clues as to who this week's entry would be. I asked were they a punk band or were they a pop band? You know, they begin with A. They were both a punk band and a pop band. It's Adam and the Ants. Despite their later teeny bop image, my introduction to Adam and the Ants was via the leather-studded jacket of a punk rocker on the football terraces when I was a teenager. That's the image we had originally. The main Adam Ant himself was a guy called Stuart Goddard. Stuart Goddard was originally a bass player, and he was a bass player for a band called Bazooka Joe, who were the headliners when the Sex Pistols had their very first live gig. The Sex Pistols supported Bazooka Joe. However, Stuart Goddard thought the Sex Pistols were pretty special, and it inspired him to leave and form his own band. The first output from his band, Adam and the Ants, was, in contrast to their later stuff, was really quite stark, uncompromising post-punk. Interesting music, not especially commercial. Music for punk rockers who thought that the Sex Pistols were too mainstream. Then the Sex Pistols manager got involved, Malcolm McLaren, and actually he put a spoke in the wheels at first, it seemed, for Adam and the Ants, because he got involved with Adam and the Ants, but all he did initially was nick the rest of the band from poor old Adam himself. And he took the Ants from Adam and formed a new band called Bow Wow Wow. Bow Wow Wow, actually, pretty good band. You wouldn't get away with them today. The concept was that you had a 15-year-old girl singer backed by all these older men. The album cover was a naked picture of aforementioned 15-year-old girl singer Annabella Wynne. Mildly controversial at the time, but you just, quite rightly, wouldn't get away with it today. However, musically, he did have an interesting idea. He had two drummers, and they formed a beat inspired by African tribal music, the Burundi tribe. And they didn't last that long, Bow Wow Wow, but Adam himself thought this two-drummer gig wasn't a bad idea, so he formed a new band of his own and recruited his own two drummers, and perhaps even more importantly recruited a guy called Marco Perrone. Nothing to do with beer. Marco Perrone was a veteran of the London punk scene, and he'd actually been in Siouxsie and the Banshees before they were famous. Their infamous very first live performance with Siouxsie Sioux and Sid Vicious on bass. But more importantly, he could write songs, and he wrote some damn good songs in partnership with Adam. So the second album from Adam and the Ants was an altogether different beast. It was still punk rock, but it had this unique sound, which is why I liked it. A unique sound with the two drummers and good tunes to boost. It was surprisingly successful. It was a big surprise when the first single from the second album, Kings of the Wild Frontier, being the album, this first single was Dog Eat Dog, made number 4. Astoundingly high for a band like Adam and the Ants, who weren't mainstream at all at the time. But the next two singles from that album, and music in Kings of the Wild Frontier itself, went even higher. Went to number 2. Probably would have been number 1, except that it coincided with the death of John Lennon, and John Lennon had pretty much a monopoly on number 1 spot at the time. One thing which Adam and the Ants used to their advantage was music videos, a new medium in those days. Adam Ant himself, Stuart Goddard, I'm no judge of these things, but I'm told he was quite good looking. And they were good videos. One of their videos featured the great British actress, the Britain's actor to Marilyn Monroe, once upon a time, Diana Dors. Although by this time Diana Dors was past the Marilyn Monroe phase. The second album, well, tracking to the first album, I liked it so much. In those days, before I could drive, the only way I could get to gigs was to organise coach trips from where I worked. So I organised a coach trip, bought 50 tickets for Adam and the Ants at Manchester Apollo. Massively oversubscribed, sold those 50 tickets to my work colleagues in an hour, and had twice as many people again who wanted to go, who were disappointed. Fast track to the second album, more the same musically, but Stand and Deliver, the first single, and Prince Charming, the second single, both made number 1 spot in the UK. They were never particularly big in the US, Adam and the Ants, but they were massive in the UK. They were the biggest band of the time. They were, unbeknownst to me, becoming the One Direction of their time. Their audience, well, the music wasn't changing, but they were getting a lot of attention in smash hits and all the teeny mags. So they were picking up a new audience of teenage girls and even primary school kids. So when they announced their second tour, because of the success of the first tour, I thought, well, buy 50 tickets, because I had 200 applications for 50 tickets first time. They toured. I'll buy 100 tickets this time. Big mistake. This time, the adult audience was turning against a bit. They were a bigger band, they were playing bigger venues, but I'd not spotted how much the audience had changed. And it was one of those gigs where the music was good, but surrounded by primary school kids and teenage girls, it wasn't the same atmosphere as previously. Perhaps the writing was on the wall for the band from that stage on. At heart, Adam was still perhaps a punk rocker, so he disbanded the band and went solo. He did one solo single, which went to number 1, Stand and Deliver. What was his? Goody Two Shoes, number 1 single for Adam Ant. But subsequent singles didn't do as well. It's around about the time of Live Aid. Adam Ant was invited to play at Live Aid, and he played one of his new singles, Vive la Rock, and he had the ignominy, really, of being the only person to perform at Live Aid whose records sold less the next week than they had the week before Live Aid. Vive la Rock actually went down in the charts. It was time to wind up the band. He had some bad years after. He a complex character, as so many musicians are. He had his bouts of depression, bouts of minor criminality even. But he's back now. Last few years he's pulled himself together and he started touring again. No longer the big arenas, but he's playing club dates, and he's well worth seeing. If you do go and see him, he'll play mainly his older material. Another great thing Adam and the Ants always did. They always had brilliant B-sides. There's a few of those B-sides in my playlist. He'll play a few of those too. So that's Adam and the Ants. People might be surprised for me to have a teeny bop band in my 100 Great Bands. I've not got too many teeny bop bands in my 100 Greatest Bands book, believe me, but Adam and the Ants are well worth their place. Next week, who have we got next week? Fairly mainstream again. I'm going hard rock, I'm going America. We're still in the A's. See if you can guess who it might be. Bye for now.